We spend so much of our lives trying to figure out the world around us, right? We study trends, we analyze other people, we chase after what we think success looks like. But in all that effort, we kind of forget to understand the one person who's at the center of it all, ourselves. And that simple shift in focus from outward to inward might just be the key to changing absolutely everything. So let's dive into why. Have you ever had that feeling like you're doing all the right things, you're checking all the boxes, but something just feels off? It can be this deep, nagging sense of confusion or just straight up exhaustion. Well, it's an incredibly common feeling, and the reason for it might be a lot simpler than we think. And right there, that's the core of the problem. We become experts on everything external, our jobs, our hobbies, even other people's drama. But that internal operating system, the one that dictates every single one of our choices, feelings, and reactions, for most of us, it remains a total mystery. And that's exactly where the misalignment comes from. So what really happens when we're living without that solid internal foundation? Well, we end up on autopilot. Just imagine being a passenger in your own car, flying down the highway, but there's no one in the driver's seat. That's kind of what it's like for so many of us. When you don't have that anchor, everything feels unstable. Every decision, big or small, feels like a huge gamble. Every time you stumble, it doesn't just feel like a mistake, it feels like a verdict on who you are. And even when you succeed, it feels like a fluke, like you just got lucky and you'll never be able to do it again. It's a really fragile way to go through life. And here's the result of that fragility. We stop actually making conscious decisions. Instead, we just react. We get pulled along by the currents of what everyone else expects, what we think we should do. We say yes when every fiber of our being is screaming no, just to keep the peace. We're not directing our lives, we're just responding to them. Okay, but what does knowing yourself even mean? It's a phrase we hear all the time, but it's often totally misunderstood. So let's redefine it and go way beyond the superficial stuff. See, the real key is shifting from what to why. Knowing facts about you is one thing. Your job title, your Myers-Briggs type, whatever. But knowing yourself? That's about understanding the engine that makes you go. It's asking, why do I shut down in certain arguments? Why does this particular activity light me up while that one completely drains my battery? The why is where the real gold is. And when you start asking why, something incredible happens. You can finally start to untangle what's truly you from what's just been handed to you. You can look at a belief or a habit and ask, wait a minute, is this genuinely what I want? Or is this just something I learned from my family, my culture, my past? It's the process of separating your authentic self from all that conditioning. Okay, so once you start getting a handle on your why, it kicks off what you might call a clarity revolution. And this isn't some small, minor tweak. It fundamentally rewires how you show up in the world, in every single area of your life. Let's start with decision-making. Before, the default question is almost always, what will other people think? But with self-knowledge, the question completely changes. It becomes, does this align with me? You shift from seeking external approval to checking in with your own internal compass. And trust me, that one change alone is a total game changer. And what about failure? This is a huge one. Without a strong sense of self, failing at something can feel like your whole identity is crumbling. But when you know who you are, failure stops being a judgment and starts being feedback. It's just information, a lesson, a data point for your next move, not a statement about your worth. This distinction is so powerful. Without self-awareness, our emotions are the boss. They're like commands that yank us around and we just have to obey. But with self-awareness, they become signals. They're messengers. Your anger is telling you a boundary has been crossed. Your anxiety is telling you something needs your attention. They inform you instead of controlling you. And that insight leads directly to true emotional maturity. It's not about not feeling things. It's the exact opposite. It's about having the capacity to feel anger without lashing out, to feel fear without just running away, and to feel sadness without completely falling apart. You learn to hold the emotion without letting it hijack you. This revolutionizes our relationships, too. We stop being chameleons, constantly shape-shifting and performing to try and get people to accept us. It's exhausting. Instead, we can finally just show up honestly. We can connect with people authentically as ourselves, without that constant fear of losing who we are in the process. And the benefits just keep rolling in. You find you don't need to justify your choices to everyone anymore. You start setting stronger boundaries, not with a big dramatic fight, but just quietly and confidently. You finally see those harmful patterns you've been stuck in, and you can actually start to break them. You just stop fighting yourself all the time. So, after all this inner work, what's the ultimate destination? Where does this journey of self-knowledge actually lead? Well, it leads to a life that finally feels like it fits you. And here's something that might be a little unexpected. The deepest, most profound benefit isn't a constant state of high-energy excitement or happiness. It's something much quieter, much more stable. It's peace. So what is this peace made of? Well, it's the incredible relief of not having to pretend anymore. It's the quiet confidence that comes from not feeling like you have to prove your worth to anybody. And it's the freedom you feel when you finally unhook yourself from that endless, exhausting treadmill of chasing other people's approval. Now, it's so important to be clear about this. The goal here isn't a perfect, problem-free life. That doesn't exist. The goal is an honest life, a life that feels real and true and sustainable because it's actually built on the foundation of who you really are. And even how you grow as a person, it changes. Instead of just jumping on the latest self-help trend or forcing yourself into new habits that don't stick, your growth becomes intentional. It's meaningful. You know why you're making a change, and that makes all the difference in the world. Ultimately, this whole journey of self-discovery, it isn't about becoming someone new or fixing yourself. It's really about coming home to the person you've been all along. And when we finally do that, when we stop fighting and start accepting, that's when life finally starts to feel right. It starts to fit.